Hi, this is Paul Sackis, Good News Broadcast. I'm here at the Wildlife Rescue Center of the Hamptons 10th Anniversary Center Winter Soiree Celebration at the Volstead at 125 East 54th Street. I'm with, I believe, the Executive Director,
Ginny Frati.
And you're with the organization as a...
Executive Director.
I had it right, okay. Well, I'm always amazed if I actually did something correct. And your name, Marshall?
Marshall Dornfeld.
Okay, Marshall, and you're?
I'm an advisor to the president of the board.
Okay, marvelous. All right, congratulations. Animals. And animals in the... Are there other animals in the Hamptons? And they're running around, and we need to help them. And why is that?
A lot of, as development increases on the east end of Long Island, wildlife become more and more in conflict with people. They get hit by cars, they hit windows, cats even get them. So we feel we owe it to our wild neighbors to help them when they're injured. We pick them up, we provide rescue services, rehabilitation services, we get them veterinary care, give them medicine and pain medicine, whatever they need, and we do everything we can to get them back into the wild.
How can people help your organization do that very important good work?
We like to have volunteers and our donors. Actually, we receive no government funding at all for this. You would think that the government would help with its wildlife, but they don't. So all our money comes from financial contributions, donations, events like this. And we also have a bank of about 25 volunteers that come in and give a 3-hour shift a week, and it can be very rewarding. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I imagine it is. I happen to have a place in Montauk, and I happen to know that there's this guy, Teddy Roosevelt. And Teddy, I believe, had the oldest cattle ranch, and it's in Montauk, the end of Long Island, or the beginning. We call it the beginning,
That's
right?
That's right.
How'd you get involved, Marshall?
I got involved about 10 years ago when we rescued our first animal. And it was a dove, and it was released at a ceremony, and we had no place to go. So we found Ginny, and ever since then, we've been involved in rescues and fundraising, helping any way we really can, because it's a great organization. And we're the only 24/7 wildlife hospital on the east end of Long Island, and it's totally accessible to all animals in need. And it is just a great, great place. So 728 Wild. So anybody who ever comes across any animal that's injured in any way can contact us.
Are you different than a veterinarian, or do you have veterinarians? How do you differentiate yourself?
We have veterinarians on our board of directors. We have 4 or 5 consulting veterinarians. Veterinarians come into the center. They do rounds and supervise our medical care. Pretty much what we do. We're like wildlife nurses. We provide the very basic first aid, stabilization, treat for shock, bandage any broken bones, and mobilize them, and then we get them to the veterinarian when the situations are more complicated.
Now, what kind of animals are we speaking about here? Predominantly, let's say.
Anything that's native to Long Island. We get in a lot of songbirds. There's gulls, there's Canada geese that have been, and mallards that have been shot by hunters, not retrieved. We get in deer with the same situations. A lot of songbirds, birds of prey too. A lot of birds of prey get hit by cars, break their wings, and turtles. We get eastern box turtles too. As we mess up their habitat, more and more things happen to them. You know, they have no place left to go, and they become more and more in conflict with people. Just people living their everyday lives. You know.
I think it's interesting. I had the good fortune to start a series called the Nature Series on PBS many years ago. And I guess the real reality is that every time we build anywhere, we're sort of messing up something, right, nature-wise.
No, that's absolutely right. And at the Wildlife Rescue Center, last year we had about 10,000 calls. And there were about 4,000 field rescues and about 1,500 animals that were admitted into our hospital. And it's a full hospital, full-service hospital with X-ray machines and as far as laboratory equipment and anything that you would expect for a patient to be healed with. And we have that available, and we're a real resource for Long Island, and we're very proud of that.
And it's important to take care of the animals in the sense of the ocean erosion and taking care of the animals that are right on the perimeter of the island. Are you mainly also just in the North Fork, or do you handle the South Fork as well?
both North Fork and South Fork. Actually, the whole entire east end of Long Island we handle. We need to have a federal permit for the rehabilitation of migratory birds, and we're the only center that at this time that has that capability.
Have we ever gotten a seal or a whale or a shark? I know they love sharks going out there. And do we ever get that type of fish at your place?
No, actually, marine mammals are handled by, there's the Riverhead Marine Mammal Research Center. So it's something we would get the call, we would just pass it along.
And how about, the everyday cats and dogs?
We have to refer those to like veterinary hospitals or animal shelters. One of the main reasons that makes us different, and maybe it's a challenge, is a lot of people their hearts are with dogs and cats. They love them back. Wildlife doesn't love you back, and it takes a special person to care about wildlife enough to help them when they don't like you back. It's a challenge. But our main goal is like seeing them released into the wild, and sometimes they do look back, and you swear they are thanking you for it.
It's interesting when you're rescuing an animal. They don't know what your intentions are. So as a result, they think that maybe, they may be in danger. And after you have the ability to rescue them and to really heal them and help them to be able to release back in the wild, it's something that's very, very gratifying and very rewarding.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm under the belief that animals are people too. And we're all in this together. In fact, I'm a pet minister. Should you ever need help in that regard. Because it's sacred. Animals are very, very sacred, and without animals, this planet would be actually quite a different. We wouldn't have pollination. Let's think about it. We wouldn't have any food. We wouldn't have, the wouldn't have is a big list, I imagine.
I know. People come to the East End because it's so beautiful, and what makes the East End so beautiful is to see the sound of the gulls making their beautiful noise as they fly over the ocean, and seeing the occasional deer walk across your yard, and the beautiful snowy scene. People come out here to enjoy the beauty. We feel that wildlife is a big part of it. And as far as them feeling pain, they feel the same amount of pain, the same fear as people do. Before we opened our doors, people didn't know where to call, and they would just lay there and languish. It's a terrible situation.
It's a great, wonderful, wonderful thing. Thank you for doing it. Last quick question. What's good news for you, Marshall?
I'm sorry?
Good news. What's good news for you?
Good news is being able to rescue an animal that's in distress and being able to do everything we can to help the wildlife and to the nature in Long Island as well as anywhere else we can. And we're happy whenever anybody in the community can help us do that. And the way they can do it is to call 631-728-WILD, and if they see any animal in distress, we're here to help 24/7.
Good man. And for you, good news?
Good news is this wonderful party we're having on this cold, icy night, and it's just heartwarming to see the people that come out and support us.
Congratulations. Thank you very much, both of you.
Thank you.
This is the Wildlife Rescue Center. Welcome to my Long Island.
With Walk 97.5, and with me is Marcy of Virginia Possum. Now I have a question for you. What do you do if you find an injured animal lying in the middle of the road? Most of us are familiar with cats and dogs, but what if it's a turtle with a shattered shell, a bird with a broken wing, or maybe a possum like Marcy? What do you do? And if you're humanitarian, if you want to help the animal, again, where do you go for help? The answer? Standing right behind me. The Wildlife Rescue Center in Hampton Bays. It is truly one of Long Island's most valuable resources. Join me today as we come along inside for an in-depth look at the Wildlife Rescue Center. First up, the feeding of the baby birds. I want you to meet Stacy. Hello, Stacy.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing great. Now tell us what you're doing, and these are very tiny little birds. How did they come to be in the incubator at the Wildlife Rescue Center?
Usually somebody finds them either caught by their cat or they fall out of the nest. We feed them what we call fawns. It's a mixture specifically for songbirds, and these little guys have to be fed every 20 minutes to half an hour from dawn to dusk. Usually it's just a couple of weeks before these guys get all their feathers in and they start to hop around and start flying.
Now, what exactly is in the food that you're feeding these birds?
It's a certain mixture, but I don't want to give these specific ingredients. I don't want to encourage people to try and do this at home. We're highly trained although it looks easy, it's a lot more difficult than it looks. It's not just about feeding the bird every time he wants to eat. It's a lot more involved than that, so we really discourage people from trying to do this at home and give us a call so the bird can get the right care that it needs.
I had an experience myself where I found an injured animal on the side of the road, and I tried all kinds of numbers. The police, there were wildlife rehabilitators that worked from their home. I called every number and I couldn't get help. It was a woodchuck that was hit, and it tore up my heart. There was nothing I could do. I was afraid to pick it up, and I just couldn't believe that an outlet didn't exist where you could call somebody 24 hours a day and get help. So it was a dream I had then for quite a few years, and I just studied hard, worked on it, found out everything you needed to do to take care of wild animals, and decided that a wildlife hospital and a place where someone could call 24 hours a day was so badly needed on Long Island. This is a great horned owl that we got in last year from a golf course, and he was poisoned. And as best we could, we tried. We have the antidotes, and just too much time had gone by, and he did pass away. We decided to get him mounted. This way his life, wasn't given up in vain. We use him to educate people. A lot of people don't get to see these animals up close. He could have eaten a mice or rat that had been poisoned, and then it's a secondary poisoning to himself.
You're about to meet one of the main residents of the Wildlife Rescue Center. She happens to be one of my favorites. Kalala, the great horned owl. Is that what she is?
She is. Kalala's been here since she was a little owlet. She fell out of her nest and suffered multiple fractures. She had a fractured pelvis and both legs were fractured. She was healed here at the center, but the problem is now that her body has completely recuperated, her mind has not. So she will be with us for the rest of her life because she is completely dependent on humans. We call that imprinted. Great horned owls in captivity can live for about 45 years. So she'll be around. Great horned owls are the top predator on Long Island. There is few things that can mess with a great horned owl and survive to tell the tale.
Will she ever mate, or in this case probably not, since she's living with you guys, right?
In captivity she will not mate because she doesn't know how to recognize a male owl. So she will be here with us for the rest of her life, and she won't have a mate. She might have some suitors coming around. It wouldn't be surprising for us to see male great horned owls coming around and them calling back and forth. They can turn their head. It's 290 degrees. If you imagine a pizza and you pull out two slices, that's what they can turn their head around. They can't turn their head around and around and around. It would fall off. You never have to worry about an owl attacking you in your backyard, and quite often if you have an owl in your yard, you will never even know about it. The only way to tell is you can find owl pellets and sometimes little carcasses left underneath a tree, little presents, gifts from nature, and you'll know that there is an owl family living nearby.
You're watching My Long Island on Fios 1.
You're watching My Long Island on Fios 1.
The Wildlife Rescue Center in Hampton Bays. It is truly one of Long Island's most valuable resources. Join me today as we come along inside for an in-depth look at the Wildlife Rescue Center. Who is this little guy?
This guy is a groundhog or a woodchuck. It's the same name, same animal. He was initially hit by a car, and you could see sometimes when he moves around he has a head tilt, and that's what happens to a lot of animals when they get struck by a vehicle. Their head tilts to the sides, and he can't be returned to the wild. We've tried to release him several times, and he wanders off and goes into the. We found him in the road several times, and he's here to stay. We're actually going to try to place him at another nature center, somewhere where there would be a little more suitable for him. They could provide him with a nice habitat and a place to dig, and a really good life. This is something that's a little rare. This is something that just came in about a month ago. It's a gray squirrel, but you can see he's not as gray as we're usually used to seeing. We call this a melanistic squirrel, and that means he has a little bit more white pigment in his fur than is normal for an eastern gray squirrel. Out in the wild, these little guys, the whiter ones, when it does happen, it's a genetic mutation. At nighttime, the way an owl sees, that squirrel would get eaten up its first night out, and during the daytime, it's going to make it very hard for him to survive too, with the red-tailed hawks that are around and other predators. We don't know what we're going to do with him. He might have to be placed in an educational setting, or we might determine that his fur comes in dark enough where he might be able to survive. So we're going to have to make that decision. Yeah, dye job, right? Just for men gel. He does have a future. He will not be euthanized or put to sleep, and we'll make sure that he has the best life possible for a little melanistic squirrel.
This is a white-tailed deer, and she was hit by a car in Bridgehampton on Scuttle Hole Road, and we were notified by the Southampton police that the deer was hit, and so we sent out our rescue transport volunteers to go and get the deer. This deer is pregnant, so hopefully she can be released before she gives birth, but it's a possibility that she can give birth here, which would be the first time that has happened. Typically it's one baby, but a lot of times they can have twins. The being hit by a car affected her vision. We wouldn't release her until her vision returned.
Oh, so it's only a temporary thing. It may not be permanent. You don't know yet.
May not be.
Somebody called in. They had found a mother opossum dead in their garage, and usually we advise them to check the pouch. The babies are still in the pouch. They're born in the embryonic state, and then they crawl into the mother's pouch. So usually when we're talking about opossums, we deal strictly with weight. So once they hit 50 grams, we'll begin we'll slow them off of the formula and things like that. By 100 grams, we won't nurse them anymore. And we always hold them inside of a towel. Since they don't have full fur, they'll lose their body heat very quickly. Possum babies don't nurse the way a squirrel baby will nurse off of a nipple or a baby bunny. They need to be tube fed. It has to do with the structure of the mother's nipple. It tends to be a lot longer. The formula, it's a milk replacer for a variety of animal species. This one is for opossums, baby squirrels, and baby bunnies. This is the first one we've gotten this year, and we'll continue to get them throughout the summer until a few weeks before the onset of fall. Opossums tend to breed year-round, whereas squirrels have 2 litters, one in the spring, one in the fall.
And then they're done.
And then they're done. At this size, we feed them every 2 hours. Once they hit, 40 grams, it'll be every 3 hours, and until just once a day.
Tell us about how these particular swans came to be here, Dennis.
I think one of them was struck by a car, and the other one came in ill and unable to stand. Now, swans on Long Island, they're an invasive species. They're not supposed to be here. They're not naturally part of our environment, but they do live here now. They were introduced by people across the centuries that people have been living here. So they don't recognize that we're trying to help them, and they can be aggressive, and they are a pretty large bird, so they're a lot to handle. This is their final stage. This is their happy place right now. They're getting acclimatized to the environment. They're learning what the weather is going to be like when they go outside. They're learning how to swim again. They're building up their muscles, and they will be released. All the animals in the waterfowl pen are on a track for release within the next few months. They'll be taken in a box and released back where we found them. We try to put all the animals that we get back from where they initially came from, in case they have a mate. Sometimes with these waterfowl, the mate might be waiting for the other partner to return.
Do swans mate for life?
They do. Swans mate for life. Red-tailed hawks and great horned owls, incredible species. And once you realize that an animal mates for life, recognizes its mate, chooses to feed and care for its mate and raise the babies together, then you really start seeing that animals do have personalities.
You're watching My Long Island on FiOS 1.
You're watching My Long Island on FiOS 1.
the Wildlife Rescue Center in Hampton Bays. It is truly one of Long Island's most valuable resources. Join me today as we come along inside for an in-depth look at the Wildlife Rescue Center. Next up on the hit parade of feathered friends, we're going to meet another important resident here of the Wildlife Rescue Center. Dennis, who do we have here?
This is Sonia. Sonia is a first-year red-tailed hawk. She's under 1 year of age, so you can see if you look at her tail feathers, she hasn't developed that red tail yet. She still has a banded tail, and this is something that's very rare to see in the wild. Sometimes birders go their whole life trying to find, a certain bird, and this is a juvenile, so she's learning. She got injured very young in life. She was either struck by a car or some other, impact, and she damaged her wing, and it's damaged so badly that she can't soar. As far as predators go, the great horned owl would be our most powerful nocturnal predator, and this here is the top of the food chain as far as diurnal birds go, the ones that are out in the daytime. So they are here on Long Island. There are quite a few of them, and the population is building and building as the years go on, and the effects of DDT and other pollutants kind of diminish out of the food chain. So we're seeing more and more red-tailed hawks and Cooper's hawks and sharpshins and osprey especially.
There's a similarity, at least in the profile, I think, of the American eagle. At least it seems that way to me.
Oh yes, absolutely. The American bald eagle and the red-tailed hawk, they're kind of distant cousins. They're both raptors. They're both predators, and they both have that really sharp, curved, hooked beak and
powerful wings.
Yeah, very powerful wingspan. She's a little bit nervous, you guys can see, but it's still, like I said, this is her first year of life, and she managed to get injured her first year, which is very sad. They can live for 25 to 30 years, and she'll be out of the breeding population. These guys in the wild, they'll be eating a lot of cottontail rabbit, a lot of squirrel, a lot of mouse, sometimes other birds and snakes, depending on where they are. If you have a red-tailed hawk here on Long Island, it's going to be eating a lot of rodents, a lot of rabbits, but the same species of red-tailed hawk could be down in the Dominican Republic or Florida, the coast of Texas, and they might be eating a very, very various diet.
And what do you serve her here? I'm betting it's not pepperoni pizza.
Oh, no, but no Elios for her. She gets rat. She gets tail-off rat with vitamin.
I had that just the other evening. It was delicious.
Wonderful, right? It's my favorite. So she does. She gets rat. She gets vitamins, and she also gets a natural diet. Sometimes she'll get quail. She'll get other birds or opossums or things that we could supply her that we know where they came from, and they are more to her natural diet.
Right now we are by the turtle section. Yes, a lot of people find turtles with cracked shells and bring them here to the Wildlife Rescue Center, and this serves as kind of a rehabilitation area. We have turtles in all of these pens back here.
About 2 years ago, I became involved with my son, who is now 15. His name is Ethan. And the first thing we got trained, we wanted to work with the animals. First thing we got trained to do was to work with the turtles. This is an eastern box turtle. And I just want to show you that as every turtle and every animal gets a case number, and a chart is made for them, and we record once a week the weight and any conditions. Some can live until 100 years old. Many are found on the road. If it's safe to stop your car to try to help, and you see them crossing the road, always try to put them in the direction they're going. They stay within a certain vicinity their whole lives, and they have a mission, or they want to go in a certain direction, and they'll just keep trying to cross the road again. For each of these turtles, some they may find do not acclimate well, then they may have to medicate, but many of these will be going out now into back to their homes.
Another born free moment thanks to the Wildlife Rescue Center.
Absolutely.